dipping in the ocean. It's a big ocean when it comes to human rights and its violations. Educated or undereducated or village societies, urban societies, modern societies, traditional societies, they do have violations of human rights to different extent with different versions and texture.
This is the Global Digest think tank group.
Mhm.
We do podcasts with different expertise, human rights activists, lawyers, judges, professors, scientists, even, diplomats, all kind of people.
Mhm.
So you are our guest for today. And I see you are expert in human rights.
It's very simple. The point is, whereas like understanding and sort of analyzing and conducting a research on human rights violations from a journal perspective is much easier, but it's like, you're sort of dipping in the ocean. It's a big ocean when it comes to human rights and its violations, because every society, whether developed or non-developing, underdeveloping, or maybe educated or undereducated, or village societies, urban societies, modern societies, traditional societies, they do have violations of human rights to different extent with different versions and texture. But my study sort of, what was my thematic orientation and kind of thing, I zoomed down as like human rights and women of slum areas. So in slum areas, what kind of challenges they face and what types of violations they experience in slum setups. So my sample size was, my universe was just slum areas, or those women's, and of course, and certainly categorically, when we dealt slum areas, of course, we dealt with the women who were poor, who were marginalized, who had problems on their health, on their economy, having access to legal mechanisms and traditional disconnects also. So whereas like talking, it's like marginalized sections of women, but whereas categorizing them from on a religious ground, for an example, maybe Muslim women or Hindu women or Christians, Zoroastrians, different faiths, or maybe atheism, that we didn't come across, of course. But to an extent, yes, that's a right question. It is right to assume that due to various multiple cultural and socio-religious factors, a particular section in a society may have different extent and magnitude and intensity of human rights violations. So that is right, but my study has not focused that a lot. But I mean, what I want to say that our focus was more into poverty-ridden, stricken people, women, and marginalized women. So because we focused on slum areas, so in slum areas we came across women who had Hindu faith, maybe Muslim faith, or Zoroastrian, or Buddhist, or maybe Christians. We came across. So of course we did divide their categories according to their faith and also, but that was not something we sort of sticked on very strongly, and we didn't have any inference to draw on the ground of religion involved. But that's the right question. It does
Right.
happen, and I agree with that. But there must be again a reference to a database study, a proper study. Like dowry practice also becomes an issue, but nowadays, it's a kind of legal terrorism mechanism which happens because most times dowry cases are fake, but they're sort of fabricated cases. But that's one dimension, a different one. But in rural setup, of course, you can see, because of traditions, cultures, and patterns and historicity, violations for women in their on their human rights is has a good spectrum and magnitude. When it comes to urban setups and modern societies and kind of modern flora and rhythm, so you see a vice versa. The violation maybe of their human rights may not be very much at home, but it's not a kind of solid theory. So, but there might be certain more factors which might cause their violations externally out in society, such as like violations when it comes to equal pay for equal rights, and their legal rights to access legal remedies and instruments and legal platforms such as like police and courts and legal systems. So there is a tremendous violations, because it's sometimes very difficult being women also to have those access, and their violations on their this thing sexual orientations also. there are sexual abuses, molestations, and being women, there is a gender violation also, gender disparity and kind of partiality is also there. The perception people have at large spectrum, so that is more to be seen in in modern societies because of their exposure, because in modern society their exposure is good enough uh, with the external society, whereas like in rural society their exposure is very, as compared to modern society, is very tiny. So the violation, they experience violation outside is sort of comparatively lower chances, whereas like when it comes to modern societies, their violation chances to external society, external ambience is much higher and broader. So that is one, but there must be some database studies which is to be referred, like National Human Rights Commission, different state human rights commissions, and local state courts, and maybe Supreme Court and different legal agencies. Their data's research and compilations must be studied in order to give inaccurate data on that.